Have you ever wondered why some women seem to lean in without realizing it? Why they mirror your movements, drop their voice slightly when they talk to you, or glance away at the exact moment your eyes lock? Most men notice these things, but they dismiss them as coincidences. They assume attraction is something women will openly announce with words, when in reality, it's often the subtle, unseen signals that tell you everything. Attraction isn't loud, it whispers, and if you don't learn to hear it, you'll miss every opportunity standing right in front of you. Imagine this. You're at a cafe with friends. She sits across the table, on the surface. It's casual conversation, laughter, jokes, stories. But look closer. Every time you speak, her body shifts toward you just slightly. When another man talks, she listens politely. But when you speak, she listens with her entire face. Her eyes linger. Her lips part before her words catch up. That's not politeness. That's the gravity of attraction pulling at her without her consent. And yet, most men would walk out of that cafe thinking she was nice. They never realized she was already signaling desire. The unseen signals aren't complicated. They're primal. They're not even conscious choices she's making. A woman doesn't sit there thinking, I'll tilt my neck to show him interest. Her body does it automatically. But here's the trap if you don't know how to read it. You overcompensate. You start pushing harder, talking more, trying to prove yourself, and in doing so, you crush the very signal that was pulling her in, because women don't want you to perform. They want you to notice, to have enough presence to recognize their cues without chasing them. Some women will never say, I like you. Instead, they'll test you with silence. They'll withdraw slightly, not because they lost interest, but because they want to see if you panic. Do you rush in with attention? Do you beg for her validation? Or do you hold your ground, let the silence breathe, and give her space to return on her own? That's where power lives. In indifference, in being unmoved. Because when you don't break under her withdrawal, you prove you're not just another man desperate for her approval. You're a man rooted in himself. Think about how many times you've fallen into this exact trap. A woman laughs at your joke, leans in a little, and you feel that spark. But then, the next day, she's slower to reply. Her tone colder. Immediately, you start spiraling. Did I do something wrong? Did she lose interest so you text more? You explain yourself. You push to regain what you think you lost. But you don't realize she was never gone. She was testing the strength of your center, and the moment you cracked, you failed. Attraction isn't about what you give her. It's about whether you can stand unshaken when she pulls away. The psychology is simple. Women are drawn to men who don't need them. That doesn't mean you act cold or cruel. It means you don't collapse when the signal isn't constant. Her attention rises and falls like waves. If you chase it every time it pulls back, she sees you as weak. But if you remain steady, she leans back in, harder each time, because she senses you're different. You're not begging, you're not playing, you're simply there, and that is magnetic. Strategically, this means you must train yourself to observe without reacting. When her voice softens, notice it, but don't call it out. When her hand brushes yours, let the moment pass without forcing it. When she grows cold for a day, resist the urge to overtext. The tactic is restraint. The tactic is presence. Because attraction isn't about doing more. It's about doing less and letting her invest. Your job is not to create the signal. It's to recognize it, hold steady, and allow it to unfold. Men lose women not because they're unattractive, but because they panic when they finally are. They think attraction is fragile, when in reality, it's testing. Every pullback is her asking, "Are you strong enough for me to lean on?" And every time you rush to fill the silence, you're answering, "No." If you can hold that tension, if you can stay calm when she withdraws, if you can detach from the outcome, she will come closer, because she feels what most men lack: unshakable control. Now ask yourself this: have you ever recognized yourself in this exact situation? Have you ever mistaken her withdrawal for disinterest and chased harder, only to watch her slip away? What's the hardest part for you, noticing the signals, or having the patience to let them work in your favor? Be brutally honest in the comments. Some women will never tell you directly that you're the one she's thinking about at night. Instead, she'll signal it through the tiniest cracks in her armor. A glance that lingers half a second too long. The way she fidgets with her hair when you're near. How her voice changes ever so slightly lighter, more playful, sometimes lower, softer, as if her body is betraying a secret her words won't admit. These are not coincidences. They are involuntary leaks of attraction, the human nervous system giving you proof she won't dare to put into words. But here's where most men destroy it. They see one signal and jump in like a drowning man reaching for a rope. They exaggerate their response. They overtext, overshare, or try to lock her down too quickly. And in doing so, they flip the balance. What was once her chasing you with signals turns into you chasing her with need. And the second she feels the weight of your desperation, she withdraws. Not because she stopped liking you, but because you collapsed too fast under the pressure. Women are not drawn to what clings. They are drawn to what stands steady even when tempted. Think about the last time you noticed a woman's energy shift. She was warm, engaged, leaning in, then suddenly colder, distracted, pulling away. Most men feel panic in that moment. It's like the oxygen gets sucked out of the room. And what do? They fight for air. They try harder. They text more. They explain themselves. They seek reassurance. But here's the brutal truth: that reaction is exactly why she pulled back in the first place. It was never about what you said. It was about whether you could handle the void without breaking. She needed to see if you'd collapse when she gave you nothing. Women test strength in silence. They test leadership in uncertainty. They don't ask you if you're steady. They create situations that expose whether you are. And if you crumble, the test is over. Attraction drains out of her like water through a cracked jar. But if you remain calm, unbothered, even slightly amused, she feels something rare. She feels the relief of being around a man she doesn't have to manage, a man she can trust to hold his ground even when she retreats. That's when she comes back. Not just with subtle signals, but with effort, with investment, with vulnerability. This is why indifference is so powerful. Not coldness, not cruelty, indifference. The ability to let a storm pass without losing your center. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she grows silent, you don't over-explain. When she tests your patience, you don't fold into her frame. You wait, you breathe, you stay rooted in yourself. And when she realizes her tactics didn't shake you, she feels a deeper pull toward you. Because women are wired to test strength, and men who pass become unforgettable. Now, here's the tactical breakdown you need when you sense her energy drop. Your first instinct will be to fill the silence. Do the opposite. Withdraw slightly more than she does. If she delays a reply, don't double text. If she seems distant in person, don't force cheerfulness. Mirror the energy without resentment. Then wait. More often than not, she'll notice the gap and bridge it herself. Why? Because she's invested in keeping your attention. And the only reason she pulled back was to see if you were strong enough not to chase. When she learns you are, she feels safe, escalating. Another move most men get wrong is rewarding weak signals with overcommitment. A smile, a compliment, or a playful tease from her is not an invitation for you to unload your life story or declare interest outright. It's bait, it's her saying, "Will you take this small opening and still hold your ground?" The right move is to smile back, tease her once, and then step back. Leave the air thick with tension. Let her wonder if you felt it. That gap, that uncertainty, is where desire grows. You must also learn to separate genuine attraction signals from politeness. A woman may laugh at your joke because she doesn't want to be rude. She may touch your arm once out of habit, not desire. But here's the difference: genuine signals repeat and escalate. They're not one-offs. If she keeps finding reasons to touch you, keeps looking at you even when others talk, keeps adjusting her appearance when you're near, that's attraction. And your job is not to validate it instantly, but to let it simmer, to give her space to invest deeper. Attraction is a negotiation of tension. If you rush to resolve it, you kill it. If you let it breathe, it intensifies. Women crave the slow build, the unspoken pull that makes every glance electric. And you will only hold that power if you stop panicking at every fluctuation and start treating her signals as invitations to stay steady. That steadiness is what separates you from every other man she's ever tested. So let me ask you this: how many times have you misread her silence and chased harder, only to lose her when you think back? Can you tell which moments were genuine signals and which were just politeness? And what would change in your dating life if you finally mastered the art of doing nothing at the exact moment she expected you to crack? Some women will draw you in not with words, but with atmosphere. It's the way she slows down her voice when you're the one listening, how her laughter lingers just a little longer when you're the reason. You'll notice she holds your gaze, then looks away quickly, pretending she didn't mean to. These are not accidents. These are involuntary cues of desire, and they speak louder than any confession she'll ever give you. But here's the truth most men refuse to accept: the signal is never the problem. The problem is you mismanaging the signal. You see, attraction is fragile only when you treat it like glass. In reality, it's more like fire. It burns hotter when you don't smother it. And most men smother. They see a woman's interest and immediately overinvest. They text all day. They clear their schedule. They give compliments too easily. And in doing so, they ruin the very dynamic that created attraction in the first place. The sense that she had to win your attention, that she had to work for it. Once she realizes she has all of you without effort, the tension collapses. What was exciting becomes dull. What was magnetic becomes routine. Think about the times you felt that electric pull with a woman, when everything felt alive, when every glance mattered. That electricity didn't exist because you gave her everything. It existed because you didn't. It existed because there was space, because she didn't know what you were thinking, because she had to earn your response. The more you give without restraint, the faster you drain that charge. The more you hold back, the more she leans in to close the gap. Women are drawn to men who create an emotional gravity field, men who don't need to chase because they naturally pull others toward them. And gravity doesn't move fast. Gravity doesn't plead. Gravity doesn't prove itself. It simply is. That's the position you must learn to hold. When she sends a subtle signal, don't rush in with validation. Let it sit. Let her wonder if you noticed. Let her invest again. That's how you transform fleeting attraction into lasting pull. Here's where the psychology comes in. Women often test without knowing they're testing. A late reply, a sudden drop in warmth, a teasing remark that cuts just slightly deeper than usual. These are not accidents. They are subconscious checks for strength. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for certainty. She wants to know, will this man lose his composure if I pull back? Will he crumble if I withhold? If your answer is yes, you've already lost. If your answer is no, if you remain grounded, unshaken, even amused, you pass without saying a word. And here's the strategy you need in your back pocket. Never reward withdrawal with pursuit. If she goes cold, you match the temperature. If she grows distant, you let her drift. If she pulls back, you step into your own life harder, your work, your body, your goals. This is not about punishing her. It's about proving to yourself and to her that your center does not rely on her attention. The man who can hold that indifference is the man she cannot forget. Think of it this way: a woman's attraction thrives in uncertainty. When she knows exactly how much you want her, when every move is predictable, when you've already handed her your heart without her earning it, her interest dies. But when she feels that you're present yet detached, interested yet not desperate, available yet not dependent, she feels the rarest thing, tension. And tension is the seed of desire. You must understand this deeply. Attraction is not built in the moments when she's laughing at your jokes or leaning in close. That's the easy part. Attraction is built in the moments of doubt, in the silences, in the withdrawals. That's when she discovers if you're different from the rest. That's when she learns whether she's dealing with a man who collapses or a man who remains unshaken. If you can hold stillness there, her mind will keep circling back to you, even when she pretends it won't. But here's the danger. Many men misinterpret indifference as coldness. They think being distant means being rude, dismissive, or arrogant. That's not strength, that's insecurity wearing a mask. True indifference is quiet confidence. It's not trying to prove you're above her. It's knowing you don't need her to feel whole. It's smiling when she tests you because you recognize the game and no longer take it personally. And paradoxically, that's what makes her lean in harder. So, let me ask you, when she pulled away last time, did you lean forward or did you hold still? Do you know the difference between keeping tension alive and pushing her away with coldness? And most importantly, can you sit in the fire of her silence without moving, without reaching, without breaking? Because that ability alone will decide if she stays drawn to you or forgets you like every other man. Some women won't show you attraction with grand gestures. They won't declare it, they won't announce it, and they won't risk rejection by being obvious. Instead, they'll circle around you in quiet ways, like predators testing prey. Only here, she's testing if you're strong enough to be the one she surrenders to. She'll send you fragments, a look that lasts a heartbeat too long, a smile that fades only when she realizes you noticed, a casual touch that seems like nothing until you catch how quickly she pulls her hand back. These are her invitations, but if you rush in, if you grab too eagerly, you erase the very dynamic that made her want you. This is where men fail. You've been conditioned to think that if you don't seize the chance immediately, you'll lose it. But attraction doesn't work like a flash sale. It's not something you have to pounce on instantly. Attraction is a slow fire, and the man who fans it gently will always burn brighter in her memory than the man who dumped gasoline on it and suffocated the flame. When she signals, you acknowledge it with your presence, not with overinvestment. That's how you keep the tension alive. Think back to the women you've lost. You probably didn't lose them because they weren't interested. You lost them because the moment you felt attraction, you gave everything. You texted too much. You made yourself available too often. You treated her signal as if it was already a confession. But a signal is not a confession. A signal is a test. She's saying, I'm opening the door an inch. Will you step in calmly, or will you shove your way inside? And the second you shove, she slams it shut. The truth is, women are not drawn to men who give themselves away too easily. They are drawn to the ones who know how to hold something back. They are drawn to the man whose silence says more than his words, whose eyes say, I see you, but whose body language says, I don't need you. That contradiction, that paradox is what keeps her hooked, because she doesn't want to feel like she owns you yet. She wants to feel like she has to earn you. Here's the brutal psychology behind it. Women crave challenge, not chaos. Challenge means she has to work to unlock your attention, but she knows it's worth it. Chaos is you being inconsistent, hot one day and cold the next, trying to play games. That doesn't create attraction. That creates distrust. The real art is consistency in who you are, paired with restraint in what you give. She needs to know your core doesn't shift just because she's in the room. She needs to feel that your interest is measured, not desperate. Strategically, this means every time you feel the urge to overinvest, you stop. When you want to send 3 texts in a row, send none. When you want to explain why you're busy, don't. When you feel the panic rise because she's not responding, channel that energy into your own life, your training, your business, your craft. Because here's the reality, women are more drawn to the man who can walk away than to the man who clings. Detachment is not cruelty, it is power, and power is what makes her keep coming back. Picture this, she doesn't reply to your message all day. Your stomach knots, your brain invents stories, maybe she lost interest, maybe she's with someone else. This is the moment most men fail. They text again, they double down, they ask if everything's okay. But here's the tactical play, you do nothing. You don't chase, you don't collapse. You stay in motion with your own life. And when she finally does reply, maybe hours later, maybe the next day, she finds you exactly where you were steady, unmoved, grounded. That is what makes her respect you. That is what makes her attraction grow instead of die. And the deeper truth, attraction isn't built in the yes moments, it's built in the no moments. Not when she leans in, but when she pulls away. Not when she laughs at your joke, but when she goes quiet afterward. Not when she touches your arm, but when she withdraws to see how you'll react. If you can hold your ground in those no moments, you create a contrast so powerful that every yes she gives you later feels earned, not given. That is the kind of attraction that lasts. So here's what you need to face. How many times have you ruined the fire by smothering it with too much attention? How many women have you lost? Not because they weren't interested, but because you rushed to cash in signals that were meant to stay simmering. And when you think about it honestly, are you strong enough to let the door stay half open without forcing it wide? Attraction is not a straight line, it's a dance of advance and retreat. And the men who fail are the ones who expect it to always move forward. A woman is not going to hand you her full desire in one piece. She gives fragments, then pulls them back. Not to punish you, but to measure you. She wants to see if you can hold steady when she withdraws. If you can stay grounded when her energy shifts. This is where most men collapse. They mistake the retreat for rejection. They panic, they chase, they explain themselves, and in that moment, they fail the test they didn't even know they were taking. Have you ever noticed how she acts different when you don't react? When she sends a cold message and you don't flinch? Suddenly, her next one is warmer. When she teases you to provoke a reaction and you just smirk, she doubles back with softness. That's because she's not looking for obedience. She's looking for resilience. She's drawn to the man who doesn't bend under her pressure. Every pullback is her way of asking, can I trust you to stay strong when things aren't easy? And your reaction decides everything. This is where indifference becomes your sharpest weapon. Indifference doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean ignoring her or acting like you don't care. It means you don't let her fluctuations control your center. She can be warm, she can be cold, she can disappear for a day and you remain the same, grounded, focused, calm. That's the frame of a man who's unshakable. And the more she realizes her pullbacks don't rattle you, the more she respects you, the more she leans in. The strategy is simple, but not easy. When she withdraws, you withdraw slightly more. When she gives silence, you let it breathe instead of rushing to fill it. When she grows distant, you immerse yourself in your own pursuits. You don't try to fix her energy. You don't beg for her validation. You let her feel the space she created. And almost always, she will step back in, because women are drawn not to men who chase them, but to men they can't easily shake. Think about the last time you stayed silent when she expected you to break. Maybe she ignored your text, and instead of following up, you left it alone. Hours later, she reached back out with twice the effort. Or maybe in person she turned cold, waiting for you to react, but you just smiled, carried on with your life, and suddenly she softened. That wasn't an accident. That was the power of restraint. She felt your stability, and it pulled her closer than any desperate words could. You need to understand this deeply. Women crave a man who can create tension without breaking under it. Every signal she gives you is an opening, but every withdrawal is the real test. If you fail in those moments, attraction dies. If you pass, it multiplies. This is why the strongest move you can make is often no move at all. Silence becomes louder than words. Indifference becomes more attractive than effort. The man who can sit calmly in uncertainty is the man she cannot forget. And here's the most dangerous truth of all. Most women don't even realize they're doing this. It's instinct, biology. She doesn't wake up planning to test you, but she does. She always will. And once you see this clearly, you'll stop taking it personally. You'll stop asking, why is she pulling away, and start asking, am I strong enough to hold my frame through this? That question changes everything, because the moment you stop chasing, you start attracting. So let me ask you, how many times have you lost her, not because she wasn't interested, but because you broke under the silence? How many times did you chase when you should have waited? And if you're honest, do you trust yourself enough to let her pull back, knowing she'll return if you don't collapse? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.